Hello, hello, my gorgeous ones. Thank you so much for being so patient with me. We have, well, we always have stuff going on with the planets, right? But the bigger picture or the most prominent things are the things that I kind of want to bring when I do tarot readings, right? So we have Jupiter transiting from Libra to Scorpio on October 10th. So I want to talk about that first. So welcome, welcome all you new ones. Thank you so much for joining me, everyone. For those of you that don't know me, my name is Cindy. I am the modern day spiritual advisor. I use multiple modalities to help you on your path, including tarot, astrology, hypnotherapy, and mediumship. So I want to let everybody know, or I want to thank everybody for being patient, because when I'm doing tarot, or especially with this channel, I'm expanding it just from tarot. I'm a teacher, I'm a spiritual advisor, that's what I do. So I'm always sort of teaching you guys. So I had to like really meditate, get centered, and try to help, or try to see how I was going to teach this, right? So, because it's important, there's such a big group that's watching, it's important for, everyone to sort of get the concept, right? And when I do that, I know the way a Virgo is hearing me is not the same way a Scorpio is hearing me, or a Cancer is hearing me, or an Aquarius is hearing me. So even though you may get frustrated at the way that I say things, just understand that it's not just you watching. There are many, many, many watching. It's important for everyone to get the concept. That's the way that I teach. So, back to this Jupiter transiting into Scorpio. So Jupiter transits for a year. And so October 10th, it's going to be transiting from Libra, because it was in Libra, and now it's going to move into Scorpio. So obviously when it moves into a different house and a different sign, then it's going to be doing different things, right? And so it's got to like play nice with the house, right? So it's almost like it's coming to live in a house, and the house has a, I don't know, ruler, a landlord, right? So when Scorpio, or when Jupiter moves into Scorpio, it's going to be doing something very different than when it did to Libra. Or it could be doing the same thing, just in a different way, right? So let's talk about Jupiter itself first. Okay, so Jupiter is it's a huge planet. So, and again, it transits for a year. And so Jupiter is the manifester. Jupiter in Vedic astrology, they call him the guru, right? Jupiter is the teacher. Jupiter wants to expand things. And Jupiter, pardon me, got something stuck in my throat. But Jupiter wants to like give gifts and expand your knowledge and expand your thinking and expand your way of life, right? But it wants to do it for responsible owners, okay? So, because it's a teacher. So it's like, yes, you can have your gifts, but you have to be responsible in them. It's almost like, when you get, because we've talked about lottery winners, when you get lottery winners, the person that's responsible and able to handle that is much different than the one that isn't. They're going to end up losing it, right? So Jupiter sees this and he wants to give it to everybody. Jupiter loves giving gifts, so he wants to give it to everybody, right? But he's saying, as a guru, there are responsibilities that you have to be able to take and have to be able to accept these gifts. So that's sort of Jupiter. Pardon me, I don't know what's wrong with my throat. It must be a lot of you guys and myself. So Jupiter is like law and virtue and wealth. But Jupiter, being the guru or being the teacher, looks at like a lot of levels of a situation, or a lot of levels of what's going on when he's going to give you those gifts, right? So he's looking at everything and he's teaching you about those things, right? So Jupiter being in whatever house it's going to be in for you is going to be teaching you and expanding. And so it, like in the 10th house, where it's like your fame and your persona and all that, oh my gosh, it can make you grow so much out into the world and become this like person that everybody goes to and knows, right? But Before Jupiter got there, it was like, did you work hard for that? Were you doing your 16 hours a day or 14 hours a day studying and going and doing? That's what Jupiter's saying. Jupiter's like, I want to give you these gifts. Are you ready for them? Are you ready for them? And if you're not, he'll teach you. He'll teach you. And he's a what they call a malefic planet, right? So malefic is like a beautiful soft planet, right? So when Jupiter's looking at things, it's looking in the sign or the house, wherever he's at. He's looking at the positive and the negative. He's looking at both, right? But Jupiter is a masculine, what they call a masculine planet. So meaning when it's a masculine planet, it wants to manifest externally. So it wants to give you like the material. So it manifests externally. It's not like this inner pull or inner thing. It's like whatever you're learning, it can manifest into the physical. Does that make sense? So it'll want to manifest on an external level, right? So there are going to be some times during this year in your chart where you're going to have like, you know, the Jupiter and then the sun and so all those other planets sort of help and talk to each other, and that's what's going to be going on in your planets. I mean, in your houses. So when I'm doing this tarot reading, I'm doing it from your ascending, but you can look at your moon and you can look at your sun and you can look at your Venus. I mean, you can look at those things, but when you look at them from their point of view. Okay. So, I know a lot of people were like, no, it's not in this house, it's in that house. Well, it's my astrology, it's my reading. So I'm going to say it the way that I see it, and I'm going to say it the way that I'm being told to say it. So it may not be what your chart says, but it's what my chart said, right? So I just wanted to make that clear. Let me make sure that I'm looking at my notes to make sure that I don't forget everything about Jupiter. So I think the most important thing to understand, because it's ruled by Mars, I'm sorry, it's not ruled by Mars. I was looking at Scorpio. I think the most important thing that you need to understand is everybody gets this misconception that Jupiter's just going to give gifts and everything's going to be okay. And it's not. It depends on how it works in your house. It depends on what planets are there in your house, what house it's at, and how it's talking to the other planets, and how it's actually talking to the sign in your house, right? But it's going to be in Scorpio. So let's talk a little bit about Scorpio. So Scorpio is ruled by Mars, right? And we all know Mars. Mars is that ambition. It's that thing, that drive that makes you work hard, right? But also Mars can like take away harshly too. So Mars being, Scorpio being ruled by Mars, you're going to see that it's going to want to like, Jupiter is going to have to express itself in a Martian way, right? That makes sense? So let me say it this way. Let's just say, so Jupiter's been in a home in Libra for a year, and now he's got to move to a different home, right? So he's moving into Scorpio. And Scorpio, we'll just say the landlord is Mars, right? So Jupiter has to like sort of go by the rules of Mars and Scorpio, right? So if you think about it that way, that may help you. And the reason I'm explaining these characteristics, because I think it's really important for you to understand the planet and the sign and then your house, so that you know how to ultimately express these things, how to manifest these things in your life. Because you can, this is what the astrologers call octaves. Like you can express it in a negative, excuse me, what you call a negative way, or you can go to the finer vibration and express it in a positive way. But that's kind of up to you. That's where we have free will. That's where we have choices, right? And that's kind of up to you. But my job is to help you, to give you the knowledge and the understanding so that you know what you're working with, right? When you have the tools, you know what you're working with, right? So let's talk about Scorpio. Scorpio is sometimes a misunderstood sign. I know I've had the pleasure of having beautiful Scorpios around me, really beautiful Scorpios around me. It's not that I haven't seen beautiful Scorpios around me, but I've had the pleasure of having all the octaves, or what you call all the octaves around me. So I know how beautiful they can be, but I know how sometimes they're misunderstood because, you know, when you think about Scorpio, oftentimes they're just thought of as the ones that are keeping secrets, the ones that, you know, can manipulate, and the ones that are very sexual. Well, yeah, those are, you know, that Scorpio itself has those things in it, has those characteristics in it, but it doesn't necessarily, that's not all of what Scorpio is. Scorpio is just this beautiful, it has so many other beautiful things. So let's talk about what that is. So let's talk about some characteristics. So some characteristics about Scorpio is being secretive and aggressive, the protector, right? So if you're close to any Scorpio, you know that they will protect you if they love you and they understand you. They will protect you till their death. Like, that's how Scorpios are. So, but they're also intuitive, very empathic, empathetic as well, right? And what they do is they love the taboo. They love what's out of the ordinary. So oftentimes the reason that they're secretive, they're not meaning to be secretive in a malicious way. They're being secretive because they're thinking, and this is not all Scorpios, but they're being secretive because they're thinking what I see in this situation is probably not what society sees, and people probably won't understand that I'm okay with this, so I would just rather not say anything. That's a Scorpio. They're not trying to be malicious. They're not trying to be secretive. They're always thinking of you and thinking, well, you know, they don't really need to know that part because it's just my thought and my perception anyway. That's a Scorpio, right? So oftentimes there's that miscommunication in relationships where Scorpios being secretive, but it's because they think that it might be more harmful to you if you know what they're really thinking is okay, right? So take that into consideration when you're dealing with a Scorpio. Scorpio is about transformation. And if you've followed me forever, this is one thing I've always said about Scorpios. I always see them as the rising phoenix. I see them as going in, figuring it out, that inner deep, deep, deep stuff, because that's what they want to do. They want the knowledge of that deep, deep, deep occult, deep hidden, deep, deep stuff, right? And then they transform themselves. So let me say this, if you have a Scorpio in your life, they definitely, as much as they will push your boundaries, as much as, they won't push your boundaries, as much as your boundaries will be pushed, as much as your knowledge of the hidden will be pushed, you will ultimately be transformed and have the change into what you're supposed to be. That's Scorpio. Scorpio transforms into what you're supposed to be. Okay? So, having Jupiter go into Scorpio, that is what we're going to be dealing with over this next year, right? And depending on, this is where, you know, you want your chart read by an astrologer. Depending on the degree and which house will depend on that type of transformation, will depend on that type of knowledge, will depend on that type of thing that's going on. But again, because Jupiter's in there, it's going to expand it. It's going to make it bigger, right? So going back to Jupiter going into Scorpio. So in this time with Jupiter going into Scorpio and having to play by Mars and Scorpio's rules, right? Because now they're roommates. Now he's got to, or that's his landlord. So now Jupiter's got to be like, Jupiter's like, well, I got to go by these rules. So Jupiter is going to be in your house, wherever he's at, is going to be digging deep for knowledge, digging deep for the teachings. That's what Jupiter is going to have to do, right? Because Jupiter and Mars are friends. So Jupiter plays well with Mars. He just has a different way of doing things. But he understands that once he's in the Scorpio house, he's got to play by the rules, right? Like I said, Jupiter loves to give gifts. He loves to do that. But Jupiter is also about transformation and expansion. So that's why they play well together. They just do it in a different way, right? It reminds me of when a Gemini and Aquarius get together. Because you guys know my son is Gemini ascending Aquarius. So I have, in my lifetime, many, many Aquarian relationships. And so we have the same understanding about things, but we will be expressing it and explaining it in a different way, right? So it reminds me of kind of that. And I'm sure there are other signs, but I'm just bringing that to me. So, the one thing about Scorpio is that it is intense. So Scorpio is very intense. So whatever you're going to be going through, whatever this house is going to be lit up for you, wherever you're trying to express yourself, is, remember, because I'd said before, the planets are about expressing. It's the way that you're wanting to express it. And where it falls in the houses are the area of life you're wanting to express it. But the planets and the sign are about the way that you're wanting to express in your life, okay? So you're going to have some intense, deep, hidden things come about in your love life, in your life itself, in your love for family, in your businesses, in your money, in all of that. That's what Scorpio is about. It's about transforming, and so is Jupiter. So you're going to have some big transformation, which makes sense as to why I kept feeling transformation for everybody, because there's big transformation going on this year. Now, of course, this is only part of where the planets are, but this is a big part. And that's why I've decided to do Jupiter and Scorpio. So I'm going to go over each house. I'm going to go over each sign and tell you where it's at in your house, and then do the month of October reading. Okay? So I hope I explained everything correctly. Oh, I did want to mention too, this is very important because I know some of you, again, I'm speaking to a whole but many different people. And some of you will associate better with a chakra, right? So Scorpio is associated with the solar plexus. It's associated with your third chakra, right? So if you don't know what the third chakra is, or the solar plexus chakra, you can think of the fourth, fifth, sixth, and seventh as those that come from above, and then so in the spiritual almost realm, or in the energetic realm, right? And then the two down below are the ones that come from earth, or this earth, right? So if you take what you know from above and what you have from below, and you bring them together, you manifest through your third chakra. So you're all about manifestation in this chakra. Okay, so I think that's very important for a lot of people to understand. Now, depending on what house it is in and where your planets are aligned is going to depend on how you're going to manifest these things. What are you going to manifest, right? What area of life you're going to manifest and how. So I will see you in a minute. Okay, one more thing before I begin, I forgot to say. I wanted to talk about the ascending, the sun, and the moon very quickly so that you guys understand when you're watching. If you're watching from the ascending, you take this perspective, or the sun, you take this perspective, or the moon, you take that perspective, right? So the ascending, you can think of that as like your identity here in this world, right? Your identity. But when it comes from your ascending, when you're looking at it from your ascending, you're talking about your past lives, or if you don't believe in past lives, the stuff that's fated to happen, the stuff that's supposed to happen, the stuff that comes from nowhere, the stuff that, or the things, or the situation, or the people, like those relationships and whatever, fame, whatever that is. When it comes from, when you're looking at, that's why I like to work from the ascending, because this is stuff that was supposed to be yours anyway. This is stuff that's coming in for you anyway, because this is what you wanted to experience, because this is how you wanted to manifest, because, for all different reasons. So, or because, in your past life you did so much work and now you brought some of the gifts for this life, right? That's what you're looking at when you're looking at the ascendant, right? And that's why, sometimes what you guys call miracle just happened. Well, it happened because it was coming from your ascending. It was what you wanted to experience it in that way, right? So that's why I like to look at the ascending. And when you're looking at your ascending, that's the way that you want to see it. Okay? I mean, or not, you can do whatever. I'm just saying this is my understanding. So your sun, when you're looking at your sun sign, or you're watching from your sun sign, these are the directions that you can take. This is the intention that you put on your goals and your relationships and your way of life and the things that are happening to you. This is where you can make your choices, right? So this is more of the conscious mind, right? So you can think of it as like the ascending coming from your subconscious and the sun coming from your conscious, although they all have both. But this is where you can make your decisions and put your intention and put your focus, and this is where, some people will say this is where your free will is, right? So when you're looking at it from your sun, it doesn't negate the fact that, your ascending isn't more important than your sun. It all kind of works together. It's just that the ascending is where you get like those things that you're like, wow, that just happened, or oh my gosh, that just happened, right? Because that stuff like you probably didn't even see coming because it was fated for you. It was supposed to come in for you. It was like, that's like the miracles. That's from your higher self. That's from spirit. That's from you, from your whole being, right? And then the sun is more of that conscious. Now the moon is the way, when you're looking at it from your moon, this is where you get the information or get the relationship or get the things around you, and you're looking at them and you're processing them. And we process them many different ways, but we do it and we connect with it emotionally, right? So that's why they call the moon the emotional part. So this is where you're processing the information, and that's what you're doing when you're looking at the moon. When you're looking at it from the moon side, you're gathering the information and you're processing it emotionally. You're trying to connect to it. What do I want to do with it? What do I want to do with that situation? What do I want to do with that person? What do I want to do with my life? What is going on, right? That's the moon. So I just thought that was very important for everybody to understand. And please, even though I'm saying look at it from the ascendant, don't don't box yourself in. This is why I don't just do astrology, because astrology, just sometimes some people are so analytical and so to the T that you're missing out on this whole bigger picture. So absolutely look at it from your moon, because you might see a different thing. Look at it from your sun, because you might see a different thing. Look at it from your ascending. Look at it from all sides. That way you gather all the information, because they're all important. Okay? So I hope that helps. I'll see you in a minute. All right, my beautiful Aries. So this is for Aries ascending. But again, if you listen to the other part, look at it from your moon and, your sun as well. So Aries, Jupiter is going to be going into your 8th house. Okay, so October 10th, I think I forgot to say the date. I'm so sorry. October 10th is when this is all going to start coming to fruition. What's the 8th house about? Well, hello. The 8th house is about transformation, and then it's Scorpio and Jupiter. So you're all about transformation. All this hard work that you've done this last year, all these things that have gone up and down and up and down and up and down. It looks like there's going to be a lot of deep, deep transformation for you guys. So remember, Jupiter's going to expand everything. Jupiter's going to give you gifts, but it's going to do it in duality, okay? So Jupiter in this 8th house is going to give you vitality, right? And it's going to give you like deep understanding about this house, but it's going to do it in duality, okay? So it's going to help you understand like all sides of it. But the 8th house is also about other people's money and your children. So you could possibly have children at this time or get pregnant during this year. But there's going to be some sort of transformation going on with this, okay? So this 8th house is ruled by Scorpio. And so it's about other people's money or learning other people's values. It's about sex. It's about death and rebirth, the hidden, especially the hidden and the occult. And it's about mainly the transformation, but what it's doing is it supports the 7th house. So what you've learned in relationships, what you've grown in relationships from the 7th house, it's now moving into the 8th house to transform all that. That's why I'm saying where it was in your 7th house, about relationships and boundaries and all of that, or even possibly growing a deep relationship, all that's coming to be transformation into your 8th house. Your money. your businesses, things like that. So we don't always know, because the eighth house is, it's about debt as well. So when it goes into your eighth house, or when we're dealing in your eighth house, we're talking about hidden stuff. So, how is this going to transform your debt or your money? Is it going to bring you more debt? Is it going to bring you less debt? Remember, Jupiter is going to do duality. So it's going to let you see all sides, right? So what have you been working on this last year? That's going to help you understand what's going on this year, right? And just like, because Jupiter's transiting in that house for a year, or Jupiter's transiting for a year, because of that, it doesn't mean that you get all your gifts and all the transformation all at once, right? I mean, what fun would that be, right? You want it to, like, it's going to come out as the year progresses. But when you go to the end of this, from like October 10th to November of 2018, you're going to look back and say, wow, I did have a transformation there. And yeah, that was transforming there. And yes, that did happen. And yes, I saw that coming. And yes, it was right. Like, that's how you're going to be looking at it. Okay. So how is that going to affect you October? So this is going to be your love reading. And to me, you guys know love is that force or energy that moves through all vibrations. So how's this going to happen? What's going to happen in October of 2017? So in your first position, I can see that you've retreated. I can see that you've been really, really looking at what's going on, really looking at sort of like, you're not so, and I feel like a lot of you have grown from that. Instead of like reacting first, you've grown from that. I see you like backing off and looking at situations and really, really balancing it and really seeing it, because we were in Libra, really seeing it and then really taking note. And that's kind of where October brings you. This is your present position, is that you're sort of like just looking at things. How's this going to work? What do I want next? What's going on? This person did this, or this is how my life was, and now it's this. That's kind of what I'm seeing in your love area. Now, what's crossing you is the Knight of Swords. That's a beautiful night. I love that night, because that night comes with offerings from nowhere. And we're talking about this eighth house of transformation, right? Now, where has your love been? That'll give you a clue as to where this is at, because I see it for everyone. So it could be that you get an offering of love. It could be that romantic love. It could be that you already have an offering of romantic love, and now it's your money, or now it's your business, or now it's your contracts, or now it's your family. Like, where is that for you? But whatever this is, Spirit, this is Spirit's advice in this situation. And they're saying, when you get this, remember your position. Remember to take a step back, think about it. And it's not a right or wrong. It's just whichever way you want to go with it. Okay. You've grown a lot from that point. And so now you're in a space where you can take this offering and say, okay, this is what I want to do with it. I know it sounds like a good offering, but let me go back and see, and let me make sure that this is what I want to do. Like, just take a minute when it comes. And this one, you'll know, because it comes from nowhere. This one comes fast and from nowhere. Like, you thought something was going to go one way, but all of a sudden somebody comes over here and it says, oh no, I want to do this with you, or I want to give this to you, or, whatever this is, right? Could be in your romance, because I see that too, where some of you have been working so hard and you finally cleared your life, and you're like, I've been waiting and nothing's happening because the people that are here are not really like what I want, and this is never going to happen, and all that self-talk that you give yourself, and then all of a sudden somebody comes in and they're like, hello. So that's what I see. Now, what you moved from, my Aries. So you've been dealing with the past. You've been dealing with a past person, or even some of you, this is you, where you were really looking at your past and trying to figure out what you're wanting. But for this, in October, you've come through this, where you were dealing with somebody from the past, and then some of you stayed with them, some of you did not. I see that too. So whatever this was, you made your decision, and then you've come through here. And so for some of you, though, this decision, this person that you've been dealing with, you hadn't made a decision yet. And so right now you're looking. And it isn't until you get this that you actually make a decision. Okay? So just wait for this. You don't have to wait, but just keep doing what you do, Aries. And this is going to come, and it's going to make it all clear for you. Because for some of you, you moved through it. But for others of you, I see that you kind of moved through it, but you're like, I haven't made my full decision yet. That's an Aries. I haven't made my full decision yet. So I'm going to put energy in there, but I'm still kind of looking like to see what this is, right? So in your fourth position, this is the beginning of the first 2 weeks or the first half of the month. You have the Fool. I mean, wow. What great card to have at the beginning of October when Jupiter moves into this house where you are at 0 point energy. So you're going to be dealing wherever your love is, where you're going to understand that you can go anywhere from here, right? You're going to have the energy, you're going to have the drive, and you're going to have the clarity to be able to do this and take this energy. And with the Fool, they're saying, Spirit's saying, we're backing you up. You tell us where you want to go, and we're going to make the way for you. We're going to help you. We're going to keep you clear. We're going to give you that energy. We're going to give you that drive, and we're going to give you that knowledge to do that, right? So congratulations. Some of you, it does mean starting over with this person, but I don't feel like it's like, oh, I got to start over with this person. I feel like, okay, we're really going to start over. He's done some things or she's done some things and I've done some things and we're both in the wrong and we're both in the right. And so, we're both finally balanced and on the table and everything's on the table. And I see that this is a good beginning for some of you. Okay. I don't see that it's not an ace, but it's a 0. So it's like up to you. What do you want to do with this? Okay. So in your fifth position from your higher self, I always ask your higher self, what is the one message they want to bring through to help you move forward in love? And you have the 5 of Wands. So listen, Aries, as much as you can tell people how to do things and what to do, and you're very clear about it, the thing is that you get into this place where you don't want to hurt somebody's feelings, right? And so you would rather just them do whatever and hurt your feelings instead of you actually saying what you really, really want to say, right? And so they're saying there's going to be some things that come up in the month of October, and they want you to stand your ground. They want you to, in all that chaos, you're going to be very clear, because some of you have some things you got to clear. And so they're saying, stand your ground. Stand your ground. There's a way to say things that you don't have to hurt people's feelings. But trust me, if you tell them what you're really feeling, because sometimes it's just a misunderstanding. But if you tell them what you're really feeling, like, yes, it's not your way, but this is my way of doing things. When you say that, they may say, oh, I didn't even realize that. I didn't even realize that I was treating you that way. I didn't even realize that you took it that way. Like, that's why it's important for you to stand your ground. It's important for you to fight for what you want. And I mean really what you want, not what you think they want you to want, not what you like, not trying to be a chameleon and doing things their way, right? Because let me tell you, when you're dating, that's a different thing. You can say and do whatever. Like, you have no problem saying, no, I don't want this, and yes, I do want. But when you're in a relationship, you don't want to hurt people's feelings, so you'll often be quiet. You won't say anything. And they're saying, no, stand your ground and say this. And you're going to be clear with the stuff. So you're going to be able to have the knowing and the clarity of saying what it is that you need to say. And for some of you, I feel like it's whoever this was, or whatever this thing that's coming is going to cause you to like go back to that habit of not saying what you want. But you got to say what you want, okay? Because you're doing it in a different way, Aries. You're doing it in a very different way. Now, at the end of the month, look who you have. This person has been showing up and showing up and showing up in the dailies. So towards the end of the month, the last 2 weeks, you have the King of Coins or the King of Pentacles. And this person is extremely stable, beautiful, very charismatic, hardworking, gets what he wants or gets what she wants. Because the King to me doesn't necessarily mean that they're male or female. The King to me means that they're that sign. It means they're a Capricorn, a Virgo, or a Taurus, right? And I see a lot of Cappies with you guys. But it kind of makes sense when I'm looking at Aries and Cappies, because a lot of Aries and Cappies are going to meet or have already met. And Cappies this year, they don't know this yet because I haven't said it, but this year is when their love's coming in. Not everybody, but a lot of Cappies that have been single and working. So that makes sense. So at the end of this 2 weeks, you have the possibility of meeting this person. You'll know them because they are sort of that don't know how to say it, because they're charismatic. Like they can run a room if they want, but they're not the Leo, like coming in and busting in and saying hello, right? They're sort of like you're just drawn to them because they have this sort of special something. That's how you'll know this person. I do see beautiful smiles, so that's one characteristic. But I see that when you talk to them, they're very stable, and you sort of get that understanding that they've come through a lot and they've worked a lot, and they're ready. They're ready for a relationship, or they're ready for a new business partner, or they're ready for a family, or they're ready. Like whoever this is, they're ready. It's none of this, well, I used to, I like this guy, but he hasn't responded. That's not who this guy is or this girl. Or, I gave them, my number, but, or we started dating, but then they went ghost on me. That's not who this is. This person has no problem telling you how they feel and what they want. That's who this person is. Okay. So congratulations. Now, I will say for others of you, if you're sort of, because I'm seeing some financial stuff going on for you guys, if you're sort of in that space of your focus has been in finance, I feel like you were taking a look at your budget. I feel like you were doing all of that. I feel like you had to like deal with past debts. And then I feel like you're finally, you're free at the very beginning. And then I feel like with this offer, I feel by the end of the month, things are going to start coming in for you. You're the king of coins. You're that very solid, stable, things are flowing in. Money's flowing in, business is flowing in. I feel that too. Okay. So in your 7th position, this is your fear. So what's going on, my Aries? Your fear is being able to balance some of you, all that you have started. I feel that, okay? And then I feel like for some of you, you want this partner, and then when this partner comes in, you're like, I don't know if I'm ready. I don't know if I can do this. I don't know if I'm going to mess it up. I don't know if he's going to mess it up or she's going to mess it up. Like, I feel like you're afraid that you can't do it all. Now remember, that's just a fear. A fear is there to remind you of what you want and what you don't want. You know what you don't want, so focus on what you want. Stay in what you want, and then those things will come to you, okay? Now, again, this is very important because I've got this in your 5th, where your higher self is saying, and then I've got this in your 8th, okay? So, for some of you, in your 8th house, this is the way a person will be viewing you or dealing with you. Now, they're going to take their stand. They're ready to take action. So whatever this is, if it's in love, they're going to take a stand for what they believe in. And that's why your higher self is saying, no, you need to take a stand in what you believe in as well, right? For others of you, they're dealing with you in that sort of combative, that's not even a word, combative way. So they're going to be dealing with you in sort of that combative way that like, but you know what? Some of you Aries have these relationships where you banter back and forth. And so I see it that way. But others of you are like, I've let them do and I've let them do and I've let them do. This is if you have a relationship already. I've let them be and I've let them do and they're taking advantage. And I haven't said anything. And so you sort of push back a little bit. And they're like, they're not used to that. So they're going to take their stand in whatever they're saying about this. All right. So I hope that makes sense. But that's how they'll be dealing with you. Some of them are going to be shocked because you're actually saying what you wanted. And I feel like some of you have a misunderstanding. Like, I feel like you finally say what you really, really needed to say. And then they're like, it's a misunderstanding because they're like, I didn't even realize I was doing that. I'm so sorry. Or I didn't realize you took it that way. I'm so sorry. Like, that's what I feel like. So it's really important, because this is the important message. It's really important for you to make sense out of that chaos, to really say what you want, okay? So in your 9th position, this is your hopes and dreams, but for me, this is the outer realm of what's coming in. This is sort of the energy that's coming in. You have the Knight of Cups, so you have another offering coming in. And kind of depends on what you're doing and how soon that energy comes in the month of October. But I feel like by the end of the month, what's coming and it's on its way with this and this and this what I feel like is that you get the offer that you're wanting. I feel like that. And for some of you, it's that romance. For others of you, it's the child that you're wanting. For others of you, it's the marriage. For others of you, it's the business. For others of you, it's the contract. For others of you, it's the fame. Whatever this is. For others of you, it's the money. Whatever this is, it looks like it's coming in. You're on the path for it to come in. And it's an offer that you really, really have been wanting and that finally comes through. Okay? Remember, the 8th house is of transformation. So whatever you've been working on in this last year, this is going to be transforming into manifestation, because Jupiter is manifestation. Okay. Now, in your 10th position, this is the overall outcome of what you'll be working through, as I just said this, of what you'll be working through in the month of October. But I feel like this is more than just October. I feel like this is going throughout the whole year. You have the Empress. I love the Empress, because the Empress is a couple of things to me. It means in this card deck, those things that you have rooted and nourished and made your way and said, this is what I'm building and this is what I'm doing, those things are coming through for you. But in another way, I feel like with this house of transformation and this being in your ascending house that I'm looking at, I feel like you're getting these gifts and these surprises that you have no idea of. Like, you think it's one thing, you're like, I've worked and I better get it, and I know I've never failed at anything and I'm going to do it, right? And then when it comes, it's even brighter and more beautiful than you ever thought. And that's what you'll be working through in the month of October. So I love you, love you, love you, my dear Aries. Thank you so very much for watching, for liking, for sharing, for subscribing. We have grown to almost 18,000 in 2 months. Like, that's just crazy numbers. So I want to thank you each and every time you watch these. I know the commercials can be a little bit, agitating, but it helps me out when you watch, when you share, when you like, when you comment. I really want to thank you so much. Love you, love you, love you. Bye.